Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our channel, Faith by Grace. I'm Nadia,
And I'm Brittany.
and we are bringing you Christian based content about our journey.
Guys, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe and press that notification bell to get alarm when we post.
Yeah.
To get alarm when we post. Yes.
Yes. So,
Junior year, senior
where
year,
did we stop? Let's recant.
end of
Last
sophomore
end of
year.
sophomore year. So far, guys, I hope you're with our journey, listening
Yes.
to us with sophomore year. So now we're going to go into junior year.
Junior and senior year, yeah.
Senior year.
Oh, junior, senior year. Yes. Junior year, I think that whole clique that my mom was talking about, I think we all dispersed. We somehow fell off. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think we just scattered.
Well, as looking back now, the state I'm in and the person I am now, I can look back and just see like that same relationship kind of divided your friends. Like, I mean, there were things before with because you had like two different groups. You had the groups, the house, the group that had the neighborhood kids. That group dispersed naturally.
Yeah.
Like and then you and the young lady that I was with her, that in the relationship, you and her fell out because there was lies told or confusion. Um, just things that we can't really talk about until someone is here to defend their own selves, because
Yeah,
I don't
just
really believe
teenage.
in
I
that
just say
teenage
stuff.
foolishness.
Yeah,
But I
literally.
believe she did have a love for you and you had a love for her. But life happened, and
Life
high
happened. The
school is
enemy is
wicked.
busy. Yeah, for sure. I think just now that I look at it, I know Satan had a hand in everything. I think I was just like Lord, like wanted me to be ostracized because I did feel all alone at one point. But
The Lord wanted you to be
no, not the
ostracized.
Lord. I said
Oh,
enemy.
oh,
It was not part of the Lord's plan. I said the enemy wanted to be ostracized, and who I thought was close to me at the time, I thought everyone turned on me, or lies are being told, or just disrespecting you, or things being said. And I was just, now I look at that, I know it's teenage and high school stuff,
yeah.
but it, that happened.
Because you must remember your friends, if they weren't going through exactly what you're going, you're
Mm-hmm.
all going through
We're all going
things,
through stuff.
all trying to find self identities.
Mm-hmm.
Identifying themselves, figuring out who they were. So basically, your story is the same for everyone. It's just a different
It's a
path.
different
Your story
path.
may be a different path.
That's it.
And so I noticed your friends had left.
Mm-hmm.
We moved.
Yeah.
We moved out.
2 minutes away.
Yeah.
So it was
But
like,
still, you were in
yeah,
your. We
own
were.
space.
Yeah, and that's something. That's a whole nother session with me. But and then that guy really started. The new guy.
Yeah, then that was like really prevalent because then it was just us.
And like on a parent aspect, when I first met him, I didn't like him. It's not even I didn't like, like when you have that inkling. I don't know why, but
The
because of
Holy
what
Spirit.
you, well, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, the Holy Spirit. But because of what you've been through before too with that whole situation,
Yeah.
I was like, Britt, are you sure you're ready to be in a relationship? And I know I'm reiterating a little bit of what was said in the other one. Are you sure this is where you want to go? And you're like, okay. And at that point, you're like almost 17, 16, almost 17, going on that. And I'm like, okay, I can't be like, just hold her so tight, because
Yeah.
what I was holding you so tight, it went awry. So let me loosen up a little bit.
Right.
And it still continued to go awry. I just didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw this young man that I even thought, okay, maybe I was wrong in my opinion with him, because he would come to my house. I'm cooking dinner. He's sitting at the table. He's talking. We're playing Uno. He's saying, oh, wow, you guys do these things. You're such a great family. Not realizing I'm inviting this is one side he's shown me, as a whole different side. I feel like I invited an enemy at my table to have brunch, lunch, dinner, snack, everything,
Yeah.
because I'm the kind of person naturally, I just trust people. I just feel like that's who I was, and I just feel like everyone deserves a chance. I treat people honestly, and maybe this may be a flaw of mine, the way I want to be treated. And I just think I wasn't guarded enough. I trusted him way too much. So I let him into our lives. Like, I allowed it because I didn't see if I stopped it.
It was still gonna happen.
Yeah, so I didn't know. I guess at that point I was just like, darn if I do, darn if I don't.
Right.
You know. But he would come over and I trusted him. I thought you understood. You and I talked and we're like, listen, if you're ready, Brittany, let me know. If you're ever ready again, let me know. This is the steps we have to take. This is the procedures. I want you to be honest with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, I do agree. I do believe like that relationship was the way like Satan had his foot in the door in that relationship. But they all say people come in disguises. I didn't know as well, and I was also
no,
trusting. And
no.
I feel like in high school it wasn't that bad. There were signs, but I just wasn't taking the signs. Like God was showing me signs, and
Mm,
I was just like, they say you see red flags. But at that point, I just loved red. Like I just was like, okay, it is what
mm-hmm.
it is, and I didn't realize that I felt like in that relationship I was you. Like I feel like the way you held on to my dad, I held on to that relationship
Yeah.
without knowing. I was like, I'm gonna make this work. Like even being a young girl, we did get intimate, which opened another can of worms, and there's soul ties and all these things that come into it. And my 11th year, I don't know, my June going to senior year, it was just a lot. I
It
don't
was
even know
it
when
was
things
it
went
was a
left.
lot because then I remember you coming to me, and here's the thing: your kids talk to you without talking to you, and you have to be so astute. And I really wasn't. I didn't. She would tell me she would be like, "Mom." At one point, she goes, "Mom, I think I'm gonna break up with him," and I said, "Okay." And she's like, "Yeah, I just want to break up," and I'm like, "Okay." And she broke up with him. You guys broke up, and I'm like, okay, cool. She went on a date with another young man, because we're used to work,
Hmm.
and but then you were like, I still like this guy. So I'm not knowing that this person is who he is. I'm like, okay, well, I guess if you still like him, I'm just glad she's coming to me and telling me these things. But all the while, when she left from before me, like when she was in front of me, it was a totally different relationship. He was subtly controlling her bit by bit. I was losing my daughter. So a lot of the attitudes and a lot of the distance and that was come driving even more from that situation. And slowly but surely, he infiltrated. And
Yeah.
then I didn't know my daughter. So we went through 11th grade, but I let you go out. You were going out with those friends. There was a other group of friends, like the ones like I don't want to call any names.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
you were going out. Wasn't that 11th grade?
mhm. Some yeah, I guess a little
Yeah.
sometimes. I don't know. I think what happened was, like I said, once fornication, sex came into play, everything just started going left. I didn't know that person was the person they were until, like, then they say a leopard can only hide its spots, but for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, like, maybe not maybe around like senior year, that's when things, because me and you at this point, even though me and my mom are, we're speaking about this, we were at odds. Like we were oil and water, oil and vinegar. We just could not mix. And then the more we divided and the more I was running and telling this person was the more Satan was coming and separating in certain ways that I didn't see at the time. And then it was like I fell, head over heels with this person. They're like, the person can't even see like what in front of them. Like you're just blindly, madly in love for what you think. You're madly in love. And then me and my mom were just dividing. And then about time senior year came rolling around. That's when like me and you were just like, that situation happened. I got caught having, sex in the house.
I
Never
mean,
do
you
that.
jumping way before that even happened. We were just like, because I want to bring up an incident
Mm-hmm.
that because I remember that fight. There was we had two fights, two really big ones, and Rosemary was there. I could say Rosemary because that's my good girlfriend, and she was praying for us and just like in tears and saying, "Don't let the enemy come in."
Dang, I don't remember that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We had a big fight. If I could call her, I would have. But we
Where?
in the house. Like I don't, and she truly doesn't remember because I do believe that where you were in your mind, you probably really don't
I
remember.
do not remember that.
Yeah, we had a big fight and we were just saying really mean things to her, and she stood up there and she was visiting that day and she's like, "No, this is not." this is not you guys. This is not how you guys behave. And she just started a prayer for us.
Wow.
And then like it was like speaking in tongue. It was just like,
Mm.
and we were both in tears because it was so angry. And then it calmed down for 2 seconds. And then the next incident was when the neighbors called the police. Do you remember that one?
Of course, I remember that one.
Yeah. And it was like,
Oh, about that time, I was like,
I
yeah.
was like, I said to her, I remember specifically said to her, saying to her, and it was about a scarf. The argument started so silly.
But it was more than that. It was more.
Yeah,
than
the way it started, but it was a lot of, like when here's the thing, when your parents are never going to satisfy you. They're never going to be the parents you are, especially if you're trying to be a parent. And I'm not going to relent with certain things. Like I'm not going to, like I always have this belief, like you're my daughter and I'm going to be a mother to you for both my children. I make no apologies because in the future, I don't want them to come back and say, hey, but if you had been more of a parent in this aspect or more of a parent. So I just knew I was going to be a disciplinarian. I was going to stick with certain beliefs I didn't want to be compromised. And I just felt like we were arguing and it was just like that attitude. And it was like, I was like, I just hate the person that you are now. And she's like, I hate you too. And the lady upstairs, because she had come down, my neighbor and a friend, and she come down, she's like, no, your mom didn't say she hates you. She just said she hate what you're doing. And it was like she was carrying on and ran outside, and her brother tried to.
No, I was going for a walk, and then my brother pulled me in. And
like,
by that time,
because I knew everyone was outside.
By that time, no, everybody was not outside then. I just feel like I needed space. Like I just felt like the house was smothering me. Like it was just too much. It was way too much. And I felt like at that time, I don't know if I ran away at one point. I'm laughing because that was
no,
too.
don't go all over because we got to keep track.
No, but I'm saying because that has to do with what I'm saying. I don't know if I ran away by them, but I just felt like my mom and my brother at that point ganged up on me.
She felt like everybody was against her.
I did because to me it was like at that point everybody turned on me. I'm not saying I didn't play a hand in it, but that was in my mind internally. That I'm like, yeah, everyone doesn't like me. No one likes me, and then it's just a lot. I'm not trying to go all over the place, but I didn't remember that situation, with Aunt Rosemary, but God bless her for doing that. But we were so gone by then.
Yeah, but Rosemary's situation happened first, and then this situation, and then the fight, and she wanted to go for a walk, guys, but it was nighttime. She couldn't go for a walk. Like that was dangerous within itself. Where are you gonna go? And she was like determined to go. So it's not like I didn't want to. If it was earlier in the day, if it was like light, of course she could have walked out the house and went for a walk. But she wanted to go for a walk in the night. It was like, so when her brother's trying to, and mind you, her brother was a slim little thing. He doesn't look like how he looked now. Now he's like 6 foot and totally different looking. But back then he was like in middle school, not even really hitting puberty. So he's trying to pin her, like to not make her move. Man, let me tell you, I didn't know my daughter could be so strong. It was so hard. And we got her in, and then they called the police because on the outside it may look like one thing, but the police came, saw the situation. They were like, is everyone okay? Okay. They just left. And I know that's going back to the time when you disappeared on us. I think it was before that incident.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It was because you guys, I already knew on that day. I had a set of clothes. Where was I going? I don't know. I had a set of clothes in my book bag, and I told the boy, I was like, yeah. No, I lied. I didn't tell him. But I just knew that was it. And then I just was like, I was contemplating all day at school. I was so scared. I was depressed. I was at my wit's end. Like, that was just it for me. And I just felt like the world was just ending.
But where did you go?
That's what I'm about to say. And then
to this moment, I don't know where she went. And then what happened
was what triggered it when I knew I really was gonna go, because I was so scared. I was so scared of what mom was going to do with me. Was the boy showed me that you sent him a text, and what you and my brother was saying, like, oh, we don't want her in the house. She's too much. This and this and that. And I was like, why would they do that? Like, even if you feel like that was my boyfriend at the time, I was like, why would they like turn on me and talk to this person?
And it wasn't turning. It was more because that was the only person that we would talk.
Yeah, but
like we would talk, and it wasn't turning it. But you see, that's the way you perceived it. But the text wasn't to beat you down. The text was saying what was going on. Like, this is the stance, because you were going to him with every single thing.
Yes, but the thing was, the text also said, "Oh, we like you guys want to sit down and have a talk,
Right.
like with just him," and he was like, "We don't like it's a lot going on or something like that." And he was like, "Even Trell doesn't want her in the house and all this stuff," and I was just
Right.
like, "Okay."
Because
So I was
right.
like, "Yeah, that's it. I'm just gonna
But
leave."
right, but you see how you perceive that now, but it was really to have a sit down because I wanted to know his perspective. What does he know about my daughter that's happening that we can't figure out? Not knowing that he was the main culprit behind this whole thing.
I'm not gonna say he's the main culprit.
No, he
behind
was
the
a
whole thing. At
culprit.
least for me, I
No,
didn't think
for
so
you,
at the
no,
time
but
because
the
I was so
slow instigation, like the even that, it was nothing to instigate because that's why I don't like text because text could be interpreted so bad and it truly wasn't. It was more like I need to sit with you and I need to talk to you to know do you because he's the only one that knew you at that time. So I thought, well, pretty much because he was the only one you ran to. Remember, now you had none of your friends. There was no one, and mind you, I would have went to her girlfriends, but you cut them all off.
I didn't cut them all off.
You weren't talking to none of them.
People did me wrong, so I cut them off.
But Brittany, it's bigger than that. So like it's more. It's where she felt like everybody was against her, and when you feel like everybody is against you, it's the enemy.
Yeah, it was Satan, but
we definitely weren't against her. So yeah, I called him and I just given him a synopsis of what's happening, and it's getting so climatic in the house. And even her brother is like, man, what's going on with Brittany? Like, so I wanted to have a roundtable talk, but he went and showed it to you to stir because then I realized that it was all about the control. But it was too late when I realized that.
Girl, it was too late for me too because I didn't realize.
But where did you go when you ran away?
I told you I just walked to church by the Glee.
No, but you see,
and it was so dangerous because let me tell you though, how God. That's why we gotta always hang on to God. God saved me then, and I didn't even know. This guy, and I never forget the white Cadillac. This grown man. I was walking. Mind you, I'm walking and I'm bawling. I got on a book bag, so I'm a kid. High school just let out, and by this time nobody goes on that path, like past Equal Trace, all that. And then I'm just like bawling, and this guy is like, "Hey, you want to ride?" I could like be slowing down, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is why you should
I wouldn't
never."
have even
And
known.
then like I'm laughing, but God, like you don't even know God is with you without going God. Like He could have pulled over and just pulled me in the car.
Yeah, and
it was just me, tiny me, and I was lighter than a feather.
Please, she was like, she's
I was
5'2",
like
like yeah, 130 pounds.
So I'm
That's
like, oh my
easy.
goodness,
Just
like
one fling, like
that
and
was
she'll
it.
be
And he was
gone.
like really like being such, "Oh, come with me. You want to take a ride?" And I was like, no, thank you. And I was barely speaking. I was so scared and whatever. And then there was another guy. I believe he was nice, but I was too scared. That he was like, "Do you want to ride? Are you sure? I'm about to get to the church." I was like, "No, I'm okay." And then I just stopped at church by the Glades because who knew that walk? I was like, my gosh, who knew that walk was so long?
But then you took a Uber.
That's what the walk was long. And then I took an Uber to where?
Where did you go in that Uber? Up to this day, I don't know.
I thought I went to where we all live, like by Monica, by your friend. Sorry, by your friend. And I don't know. I put the wrong address, and I ended up in the houses like next to the big golf course. I ended up over there, so I had to walk from there all the way to where we used to live.
Oh, you were just going to go to her house?
I was going to go to her house, and then my spirit, by the time I got there, I was like, I'm not going to her house. I don't trust her either. Like, that was the devil talking. The devil was talking to me the whole time, and I just, like, at this point, I hated everybody. I didn't like my mom. I didn't like nobody. Like, nobody. And then, remember the factor, there was a friend of yours, and I felt like they were in the middle as well. So then we really just drifted. Like, I feel like the enemy sent so much people.
Yeah, because I couldn't, it wasn't just no friends, my best friend. I couldn't even like discuss anything with my best friend. Because then it was like, you tell everyone everything. I'm like, but I need to talk. Like, it's my best friend. And
because what happened was, like, I know your point of view, but still to this day, I know, like, the Satan is busy. And I feel like both those people that we had in our lives at the time was used to help break us apart. Like, whatever was supposed to happen, Satan did not want it to happen. And I know for a fact now that I look back at it, that's what it was. And I'm not mad at anybody.
I thought you were talking about Yana.
No.
Oh, because I'm like, Yana never brought you. Oh.
No, I'm not talking about Yana.
Well, the reason why we can't talk about that particular person, it was a best friend, but that is a sensitive topic. And we really, because he's definitely not here to, and not in a position to defend himself.
But I'm just saying that was one of the factors. That's all I'm going to say. So,
okay. Well, yeah.
It was just hard for me then, it really was just,
and she went through a stage of hating me and then someone came and took interest in her brother, like, and then
Mhm.
she felt like, okay, we all turned against her. But when I think of it
Yes.
now, the enemy just wanted Brittany to feel alone
Oh my
and
gosh. The
separated.
spirit of
No matter
rejection.
what we did,
Yeah.
we could have like the greatest day now, and 2 seconds later, and it's the whispering
No,
spirit
it is.
telling you,
And it's funny to you, but not saying it's not. But now that I look back, I did not know because
no, I
I was
know.
in such a trance. I had so many demons in me. I was harboring hate, anger, unforgiveness, rejection. So all I all I could see or know or hear was the boy,
The negative.
which was he was feeding me, not feeding me stuff, but I can't even really remember. But we were not good for. I should have been in a relationship. I just got out of that toxic
Exactly.
relationship. I was sexually assaulted. I should not have been in any relationship. I was too young for a relationship. I felt like I should have just been focusing on me and focusing on school. But I let the enemy in. Once I opened up myself sexually, once I had everything happen, I was head over heels for this boy. Like I gave Satan a doorway and he came in full throttle and everything was just like, when someone comes in the house and just ripping things apart, that's how I feel like the enemy
Yeah.
came into my life. And
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that I really did have a big spirit of rejection. Like I felt like nobody loved me, nobody liked me. It was me against the world. It was literally Brittany against everybody. And I just didn't know how I was gonna do it.
And I commend you for talking about it, because a lot of children right now face that, from
Mm-hmm.
middle school right up to high school, the same spirit of rejection. It's a familiar spirit
Killer
that
spirit.
waits for any doorway.
Yep.
It's when you're going into your stage of awkwardness as a teenager, it's natural to feel confused,
Mm-hmm.
because now you're leaving, like, you're still a teenager, but now you're understanding a little bit of the adult life, and you're
Yeah.
like, well, mom wasn't right about this and they weren't right about that, and it was just like, and the enemy used it. He
Yes, he
used
did.
that was just a state of confusion. I can look at that now, but back then, guys, I wasn't thinking of no enemy. I just thought my daughter turned into someone I did not like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I literally was like, I loved her, but I didn't too much like her. And I can honestly say that I didn't like her. Mm-mm.
And you showed it.
Mm-hmm.
She showed
There
it,
was,
and we were like, you were in that sense. But I know, like I said, Satan had parts of both of us. There were times it was just like, in your words is what cut me the most, and I was
yeah,
like, no.
my words are lethal. My words can be, like, I don't have to fight with my fists. I fight with my words. So let's talk about what, because we're about to, let's talk about the finality of high school, like what led to it, because you kind of had to go through the whole process of high school towards the end by yourself.
Yeah. It was terrible.
So do you want me to start, or you want
You
to?
could say.
So, well, you already discussed it earlier,
Mm-hmm.
but you kind of, and I was like, oh, don't get them confused. So she was with the boy, yeah. So she called me and she goes, it was early release. I worked for the school board. I was a teacher assistant at the time. And she called me, that day was an early release. And she called me and she goes, hey mom, can such and such come over? Um and then she's telling me. So I'm like totally trusting her. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, because he's not gonna even be there for an hour good, and because I'm on my way. And I'm like, so I'm thinking that's why she asked, like, okay, well, I'm like, okay, I'll be home. Um, Not a problem. I didn't say that to her. I just knew. So we were in my school, and then the principal said, okay, I don't see you. And when your principal say that, you could dip. So I was like, okay, I'm on my way. Let me tell you about the enemy. Like, remember that the Bible says to be, God says you can be angry, but don't cause wrath. You're not
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be wrathful, meaning it's okay to be angry, but you shouldn't express it in a way where it's going to hurt a person. I remember driving home. It was early release, and I'm driving home. 3 times I picked up my phone to call her and say, hey, I'm on my way home. And 3 times I put it down, because I started having a feeling. I was like, nah, Brittany wouldn't do that. But it was just like, you know what? So I put away the feeling, pulled up. I saw the young man's car. Not a surprise, because I knew they were going to be there. I walked into the door and I'm like, hey, Britt Brat, put my stuff down. And I'm coming in. Remember now, she called me. I don't even think this was an hour later, because I didn't work very far. And we come in, and as I'm going towards her room, a sight
Right.
that a parent never want to see. She was hidden. She already heard me and ran for cover. I don't even know where she ran and hid. And all I'm seeing is this young man, and he's like in his glory. And I'm just looking like, are you serious right now? And I just lost it. I really lost it, where I just was so angry. Everything said, because we already been through this and we weren't supposed to go there. And I felt such anger, such resentment, because I was like, this didn't have to happen. And you knew what I was expecting. And I just felt like this complete rage, disappointment. But what really added to the rage was when I went in my room. I mean, I started throwing hands. I ain't even gonna sit here like, cause I'm not gonna act like I'm innocent. I know I can't punch, so I put my sneakers on my hand and I went in and I was punching because I can't. I was just so enraged. And then she's like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." I'm like, I didn't even want to look at her. And then he's just like, so I leave the situation because I'm like shaking. Immediately I have to go to the bathroom because every kind of anxiety hits my stomach, guys. So I just went in my bathroom, closed my door. How dare this young man come in my room knocking on my door? I think that flipped my mind. Like, most kids would run out. Most kids would tear out of the situation. And he's coming and knocking on my door saying, "Oh, we can we talk?" Man, I lit in him. And the enemy was like, "You have so many knives up there. Take the longest knife and just go right through his throat." God saved me.
I understand as a parent, but I don't think that was why he said that. It was just because he knew I was gonna get in trouble at the end of the
Yeah, but
day.
he don't come in no parent room. Don't come in my room. Don't come talk to me. It's not a time for reasoning. Leave. And if you want to reason, we could reason another point. But do not infuriate me more. I was a single mom that I had to go through that. Like, yo, just bounce. Like, and then even when you're outside, he's like standing there, and I'm like kicking off like a little old, yo, I was just going off. Like, and he's just standing there by the car. And in that moment, I wish I had a gun. In that moment was the moment I was like, if I had a gun, I promise you, I knew I would have shot him, because that's that rage. And then after that, our relationship really went bad. I was just so mad at her. Did you leave that same day? No, no, it was days later.
No, it was that same day. It,
No,
mm,
it wasn't that same day. You didn't
okay,
leave
it was
that
the
same
next
day.
day.
It was that or a couple days, because
It
then
was the next
it
day.
was the next day, because I was so angry. The way I handled it wasn't good. I remember being on the phone and I was just so mad. I was like, I just feel like I hate this girl. And I said, I just felt humiliated to the point of, like, I tried so hard. I just wanted her to come to me. It was even to the point where even compromising my own values and my own beliefs, I was like, Britt, when you're ready, and if this guy feel like he's ready, he should be able to take you to a hotel. Do not do anything in my house, because we've been there already. And you were like,
Mhm.
yeah, mom. I was like, he should be able to take you to a hotel. So if that's what he want to do, we're going to get protection. And that's something, when he's ready for that, he should be able to do that. But he disrespected my house. It's more that I'm never going to be that parent that is like, oh, it's okay. So, a lot of people didn't find no big deal about it, because he even came back later on in the past, in later on, and was like, not to my house, but after many things happened in between, he's like, well, my family said there's nothing wrong with it. Well, your family don't have the girl child. You understand? There is something wrong with that. I want to allow my son to have sex in the house.
That's what he said to you.
Yes,
Mhm.
and it's like you don't remember any of that. That's a
Mhm.
whole nother incident when the police had to come. That's another incident, but it's just, I lost it. And I remember being so angry on the phone that morning. I was saying to my friend and my best friends, and I was just like, yo, to him, I was like, I'm so angry. And it's the funny thing is, he was so upset at me, because he's like, why didn't I call me? He's like, you know what, right? Yeah, because you know why I didn't call him? Because I knew it would have been a big thing. And I just feel like I would have made eat one of them go to jail that day. So I was still trying to protect without even though I was so angry, and I feel like, yeah, if this was Jamaica, yo, my brothers would have dust him out. Just some fists or some thump, some like he needed that. That's how I felt. You understand? But in the same instance, I didn't call who I could have called to come handle the situation because I didn't want anyone to go to jail. So at the same time, I'm defending someone that I really want to pulverize. But then she's too young. She doesn't get it. She's just thinking I'm the worst mom because of my reaction. But I didn't know how else to react.
Mm,
I didn't know how else to react. And then we got into it. Like to me, she would just walk in the house and not speak or like, "Hello, mom," and that was it. And at the most attitude, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. So one day I told her, "You know what? Pack your things and go to your aunt." Well, it was a good friend.
mm-mm. That's not my take on it. But I mean, I understand as
No,
a
tell your take.
I am, but I mean, I understand as a parent how you feel because that's a sight I wouldn't want to see from my child. And you know how I feel about that. But what I can say was before all of this happened, me and you were already at odds. It's not like we were
Mm-hmm.
like blossom and cherry. We were not good at all. I felt like you would say things that would hurt my feelings. And maybe I did. One thing about me, I do shut down. Like when I'm just real, I just shut down. Probably comes off of his attitude. It probably did, but I shut down. And I just felt like that day happened. And the thing is, you know how the Holy Spirit was speaking to you. The Holy Spirit was speaking to me, but my flesh was weak, and my flesh was weak, and I
Really?
did
You never
something.
told me it was the Holy
I
Spirit
did. The
saying.
Holy Spirit was speaking to me. I just knew. I knew you were coming. God already told me. Like
Oh.
I knew 110%. It's to the point where the clothes were drying, and I ever opened up the dryer to stop. So I heard when you come in. It's not funny, but I can laugh at my pain now because in the moment it wasn't funny. But I'm just saying God was speaking to me also. So you know when you just want to do something, you're being defiant
Mm-hmm.
and rebelling. I was just
And
rebelling,
that's why
and that's
everything.
why things happen. But I'm happy that it happened because now we are where we are
Oh,
because we had a lot of
absolutely.
things to fix. It was a blessing in disguise, 110%. But one thing I can say is I felt like the way you handled it, I get it. I can only imagine how I handled it. I give that to you. But I felt like with my mom, a problem I had with her was like I felt like she used to talk too much. Like she used to tell my business everywhere and always. And that's another problem I feel like as kids we deal with is like we don't want everyone to look at us some type of way because people you may think that you can trust like judging us, and that's how I used to feel. Even in my all my high school years, like people you used to trust to tell my business, I didn't trust them enough to know my business, and I felt like people were judging me or they had to say so. People that your friend that was there that you called, I felt like he shouldn't have been called or at least told in a different way because you said it was a couple of days, but it was the next day because I had PSD on Thursdays, I believe. So that Friday after school, you were like, you're leaving, or you're like, pack your stuff, you're leaving. And when I was leaving, I remember like I was about to leave and he didn't even address me. And I felt like it wasn't his right to not address me. He wasn't my father. He was not here for me. He was here for my brother. And I felt like that gave him the upper hand. And I felt like I resented you for that as well, because if it wasn't for you telling him or at least flipping off the way you did, that was leeway. And to me already, I looked at it as he's already trying to break this up. He was already trying to come in the middle because we had instances of us bumping heads, and that was a situation within itself. So that as a child, it irritated me, and I was just like, that was just more resentment. And then when we were leaving the day to send me off, and then he didn't address me, he addressed you. Oh, where's her stuff? Like I'm like, but okay, like I'm not saying I didn't do anything wrong, but that's
Mm-hmm.
not how you address me.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like you gave him that, so I was upset at
By
you.
telling him.
Yes, by telling him. And I'm like, here we go again, my business out in the open to someone that now you feel like you have an upper hand to speak to me in a way you do not. In my opinion, it would have been different to me. He could approach me better. If you really want to talk to me, hey, Brittany, let's sit down, let's talk. You were wrong for this, and that. You don't act like that. And then like he didn't say anything to me, like
Mm-hmm.
did not speak to me. And that's why another reason why I resented her so much in that season of my life, because I just felt like you gave him that. You know what I'm saying? You defended it. You didn't say anything, and you allowed him to do that. And this man did like we already weren't. We were already
So
weren't
you
the
hated the
best.
fact that he just,
He was rude.
yeah,
He
that
was
just he just didn't
disrespectful.
speak to you.
No, he did. He didn't address me. Like I wasn't saying it. I wasn't already nothing. I already felt like the world was against me.
Yeah.
And then it was like for you to do that, like I was just like, excuse me, like who are you? You know? And I was like I said, he's his own person, but I was more upset at you as my mom. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I understand what I did, but like, where's your back? Where's who has my back in this? At the end of the day, so yeah.
And at that point, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. I did tell what kids don't understand is I was a single mom, and it's not an excuse, it's a
Mm.
fact. And for me to hold everything in, I already had my own issues in life, which we'll get into later on, and you'll see why I handled certain things the way I did, because I didn't know what it was to be a mom. I was a mom at 21 and then 25. And like, so I have my own skeletons in the closet of what happened, and that I'll share later. But I didn't see it the way she saw it. I just saw it as this was a person that was there for me. Like I needed to vent because I felt like it was just life was so unfair.
Mhm.
And so she moved to my friend house.
Mhm.
And that is a story within itself.
Yes.
Cause then, like we find out people at your lowest moment, you find out people. And that's someone that she loved and trusted the whole time. Like it was like an aunt to you,
Mhm.
like a and like a mom figure to me. And that was someone very important in my life also that I felt that I trusted. And later on we're gonna discuss like
The aftermath.
what I have learned from that is I agree with her is don't let anyone in your relationship
Mhm.
when you're going through it in a home, try to keep it there or people that you trust, like Yana. And
Mhm.
Yana is my best friend. And we've been best friend and we both have kids. And
Mhm.
sometimes we feed off of each other
Yeah, I
too.
guess
Yeah, but
to
that's
a
that's
certain extent. That's
normality.
normality, but that's
Because
different because Tatiana has kids and we're family. And even
yeah,
if she would have gave you something, you guys
absolutely.
feed off each other to
We
come
feed
back.
off of each other because as adults, we realize that. Yo,
Mhm.
if I'm upset, she's upset. And
Exactly.
it's like so
Mhm.
we have to always be careful of that. But you sometimes I've discovered on that journey and that whole situation that people are not always who they seem because I thought I sent her someplace to scare her for a couple days. She never came back. And that was the worst thing that I did do. And I will always say, I just believe do not send your children up because I didn't know there was so many other people. The only thing that person I think that was on my side then was your therapist. In
Mhm.
the sense of she's like, that's your mama. You can
Mhm.
always go back home
I love my
because then it
therapist.
was getting so bad
Yeah, I
that
like
I
her.
didn't know. And she had to witness this with my daughter. And
Mhm.
regardless of the friction we had, that therapist knew and understood the love I had for my daughter. But
Mhm.
when you get to a certain point, I was thick headed too. In my journey, you guys will hear about it.
I was
And
unforgiving. Oh my gosh.
it's like my daughter literally repeated my whole life. It's like when you hear my story, it's like she literally, I was looking at myself.
Mhm.
Like I never expected my kid to run away from home. To me, I had reasons to run away from home when I was a child, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
But
But
look
I
at us
thank you for
now.
sharing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, guys, there's some things are hard to hear and like, oh, yeah, that kind of sucked. But
Same thing. It's like, oh my
yeah,
gosh, I was that kid. I
but
didn't even know.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
okay
It's
because
okay.
that's what listen.
Growth.
What does the Bible say? We have to what? We have to go through trials and tribulations.
Tribulations,
That is what
right?
builds us. That's what builds our faith. That's what we know who God is. Like
Yes.
there's nothing that we can say here that God hasn't forgiven us from
Amen.
and love us.
Oh
There's
my gosh.
absolutely nothing.
Yes.
Like there's nothing a human being can do on this earth that can't be pardoned from with God when you just seek him.
Ugh.
So we're in this state to talk about this
Yes.
because there's been healing, forgiveness, and we understand God love.
Amen. So
So
that we're able
that's
to love each other.
yeah, so that's what we're trying to
Mhm.
convey
And
through
I.
all these stories. It's not to bring her down or
Mhm.
make me be the worst mom. And
Mhm.
maybe in that moment I was the worst mom. I handled it badly. But it's just to share that it doesn't matter what you're going through, man.
No.
God, when Jesus said he'll never leave you nor forsake you, he will never leave you nor forsake you. We are
Amen.
never alone. And with that, we're gonna end
Yeah, but I
this
just
session.
wanted to
Okay.
say, lastly, what I got in that journey, regardless, especially with God, and we'll get more into that. But is what the enemy means for what the enemy meant for evil. God always turns it out for the glory of Him, the glory of God, and it's never over. Like what you think is the worst that you can't come, as our salvation is through Christ, and God, like worthy is the lamb that Jesus died on that cross for us to save us from these sins, and that we are not redeemed and redeemed enough to tell, share our story with others and help, God, we pray that it helps at least one person, some parents and their kids, mother, daughter, father, son, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
to like just know that God is there, and it gets better as long as it gets better. Everything is better through the Lord Jesus Christ. So,
And her story gets a little intense.
mm-hmm.
And it as a mom, for what's coming next, as a mom, because sometimes she can't even tell me certain things
Mm-hmm.
because I'm just in tears or I'm so angry. And like even now, just thinking about it, it brings tears.
Yeah.
But she's here,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you parents to just hang in there and
Yeah.
just know that Jesus is
I'm
real.
crying. God is
Jesus
real.
is
Because now
real.
I'm here, I'm smiling, I'm happy, and I'm 110% restored through the love of Christ. So we thank you guys for watching, and we're crying. Have a blessed one. We hope this
Have a
blessed
blessed
you
one,
guys.
guys.